what's Sunday? So now on the week, we're up almost 12% on the week. We're up almost 12% on the week. On the month, we're up 35%. On the 3 month, we're up 30%. Year to date, we're opinion. I wouldn't be surprised if AMD hits 1,000 by the end of 2027. I wouldn't be surprised, if not sooner. If not sooner. You know, I tweeted, I said, don't be surprised if AMD is over 1,000 sooner than you think, or hitting 1,000, 800 to 1,000 sooner than you think. I mean, guys, when y'all look, when you really... What's up, everybody? Welcome back to JRuss TV. If you're new to my channel, hit that like, comment, subscribe button. We cover all things business, investing, and self-improvement content. Returning to my channel, appreciate the love and support. You already know I'm coming back with some very good game for y'all folks. Stock portfolio update. This was a very big week for the portfolio. Not gonna lie. Let's get into it. Let's start off with the fear and greed index. You already know I like to start off with this. We are currently in greed. A week ago, we was in greed. A month ago, we was in fear. A year ago today, we was in greed. So whenever we in fear, extreme fear, these are always places you should be looking to buy in the stock portfolio. If you're in the extreme fear range, that's usually a good time you want to buy. Now let's look over the VIX. The VIX is currently up this past Friday, but for the week, it's about down. On the month, it's down 10%. The VIX is the volatility index, so that pretty much, the higher it goes, the more volatile the market is, essentially. You know, so like a month ago, when we were going through, what was that? The Iran stuff, you know, we was at 1920, 1950. You know what I mean? We was in the 19s for real. So now we've been down. We're back down to low 17s, which is pretty good. Quick little overview of what's just going on in the markets here on the right-hand side. I like how Google has this like AI overview research on the side. But basically, both the S&P 500 and NASDAQ reached fresh all-time highs on May 8th, driven by blockbuster job reports and a resurgence in artificial intelligence and semiconductor stocks. Shout out AMD, man. Key drivers were the April's non-farm payrolls, which showed an addition 115,000 jobs that came in, significantly beating estimates and supporting a soft landing narrative despite high interest rates. So that's pretty good because jobs is something the Fed definitely looks at when it comes to cutting interest rates. Cutting interest rates are good for the economy. We do have a new Fed chair coming in. I believe his name is Warsh. His last name is Warsh. I think he gets sworn in this week. So the markets may be a little volatile this week because, you know, he's coming in. Tom Lee's predicting when we hit 7,300, we're going to drop 15, 20%. My opinion on this, Tom Lee is a Wall Street analyst. Very reputable. He has some very good takes. But my opinion, he's expecting it to drop like 20%. He's expecting for a crash after we hit 7,300, which I don't know, just to get 2 years back to back a crash is like very rare from what I've seen in my research. And then we went like down, the NASDAQ went down 13% when we were at peak Iran war. Oil, Strait of Hormuz was closed, all that. We was at 13% on the NASDAQ. I think we was like right under 10% on the S&P 500, like 9.5%, 9% down. So it's like to get double that, it's going to have to be something very like, you know, critical black swan event that gets this market down, in my opinion. Let me know what y'all think in the comments. Also, sector leaders like Nvidia and Intel powered to the NASDAQ to its 11th record close of 2026. Intel surged 14% on Friday. Reports of major chip fabrication deal with Apple, and Intel had a earnings report too, and they're completely sold out capacity. So that actually started the run for semis whole time because that's when AMD started to take off too, because AMD is heavily in the CPUs. You know, AMD does CPUs and GPUs, great CPUs, and they've taken so much market share from Intel. So it's double, but whatever's bullish for Intel is double bullish for AMD, essentially. So geopolitical resilience. Investors are cautiously optimistic about potential de-escalation of hostilities with U.S. and Iran. So that hasn't really been confirmed just yet. So that's still shaky. You got the market shaky. But when Bitcoin broke 80,000, which is a psychological level. So yeah, that's what we got for a little recap real quick on the markets. Let's go ahead and get to the portfolio. On the day was Sunday. So now on the week, we're up almost 12% on the week. We're up almost 12% on the week. On the month, we're up 35%. On the 3 month, we're up 30%. Year to date, we're up 18%, or 19. Now, if you wasn't following the channel, you know we've been down. I think the majority of the year we was down for the most part. Yeah, majority of the year we was pretty much down. Peak bottom, like the bottom was March 30th, which I actually called on my channel. If you look at our have we bottom ? That was, I think I posted that like the day after. So that was really a bottom. And then we've been up since then. Like that was the bottom whole time. And I remember that clear as day. We was at 2,900. Now we at 4,500. You know what I mean? The portfolio up from those lows. That's about a month ago. Up 35%. Like I said, the major mover is AMD. So I kind of just want to focus this video a little bit more so on AMD. And I did attend the AI Expo event. Let me get that. Yeah, so man, I just want to get into AMD. Now I did go to a AI Expo event as well this past week in Washington, D.C. So I'll make a video on that, diving a little deeper. What I've learned, I have a lot of good notes. It's an overview of the event, and I did get some, AI today. I've been reading this and I've been taking some notes, things like that. A lot of good confirmation. All I got to say is good confirmation of where the AI industry is going, the bottlenecks, the agentic AI era. I just confirmed my thesis was just confirmed, and it just made me even more bullish. Being able to see an AMD booth in person and talk to some of the account executives, and kind of nerd out a little bit. They actually talking my language. I can ask them about the Xilinx acquisition. I got good game from that. Just breaking down a CPU versus GPU a little bit more. What's in the MI 455 series, the MI 500 series with the Helios rack. He broke it down for me. So it's like you see it online, but being able to go in person and talk, and they know what you like. Yeah, you know what I mean. Y'all know what I'm talking about. If y'all tech nerd geek out, like you know what I mean. But I got to an NVIDIA booth. I learned a lot about that. It all goes back to the 5-layer cake. 5-layer cake. They was handing these out, just to really get everybody, knowledgeable about AI and how it's just broken down. So a lot of good game, got a lot of good notes in here. I'm gonna share that with y'all for sure. Keep a lookout on that video. They had people from Meta, they had people from Perplexity, they had people from Google, all the big tech companies, was out there. Tesla was out there doing test driving, a lot of drone companies. So keep a lookout for that video. Something you don't want to miss. I'm definitely gonna put a lot of good info and tips and my thoughts on it. So back here, AMD had a great earnings, man. AMD hasn't been on the run. Lisa Su, the CEO of AMD, has been great. This is why you invest in management. You invest in CEOs. Man, on the week, we up 27%. On the month, we up almost 100%. On the 3-month, we up 122%. Let's go. You could have been buying this at the hundreds. You could have bought this in the 200s. This is my lesson I've learned. That's why with Nebius, I'm still buying. Because it's like, I was buying a year ago in the 80s, hundreds. But it's like, bro, you could have been buying up to the 200s, then it finally broke out. You could have still been buying the 200s. 200s was still a buy. Like, not gonna lie. 200s still a buy. But I already had so many shares going on my ears, bro. Like, you feel me? It's already such a big position. But yeah, year over year, up 349%. And you know what's really crazy about this too? Is like, I always look at these stocks that blow up 300, 400, 500%. I'm like, dang, how did I miss this? How I missed that? How I missed this? But when you really just stay down, wait your time, wait your turn. Now we got a 3-bagger. I think this is my first 3-bagger. Is this my first 3-bagger? Palantir may have been a 3-bagger too. Nah, maybe when it was in the 200s, Palantir. But AMD really my first 3-bagger. Palantir is, but since it's came down, it's not anymore. And that's just in one account. For overall account, all my accounts, not really. So AMD is really my first 3-bagger, bro. Like it feels amazing when your research pay off, bro. It feels so good when your research pays off, bro. It's currently sitting at 45% of the portfolio, roughly half. AMD's taking the wheel. AMD going I beat the S&P. I already beat the S&P 100. I'm at 18%. And we still got plenty of room. Zeta ain't take off. All that. But total return, 270%. We was up 12% on Friday. You know, this is one of those stocks where I'm just going to let run. You know? We're just going to let run and let your winners win. I've done that with a lot of my big winners. You know, I just let them run. I take profits maybe a year after so I can take less capital gains tax, but I just let those run. You know, long-term investments. Those are core investments that you can hold for decades. A lot of my companies, AMD, you can hold that for decades. The AI revolution is just getting started. Compute is so constrained, and CPUs just hit an inflection point, and AMD is taking such market share for this. In my opinion, I wouldn't be surprised. In my opinion, my humble opinion, I wouldn't be surprised if AMD hits 1,000 by the end of 2027. I wouldn't be surprised, if not sooner. You know, I tweeted, I said, don't be surprised if AMD is over 1,000 sooner than you think, or hitting 1,000, 800 to 1,000 sooner than you think. I mean, guys, when you really look at a lot of these AI companies, like a SanDisk, bro. A SanDisk year over year is up 4,000%. So if money's flowing, it's possible. If money is flowing into AI infrastructure, it's very clear where money is flowing. It's AI infrastructure. Look at Micron memory. Now these are memory plays, and of course, so it might be a little different, but 700% year over year. It's up 156% this year. Micron was at 300 in the beginning of the year. It's doubled. What the? Micron this was a year ago. Micron was 100, just like AMD, just like Nebius, just like AMD, just like Nebius. And look how these giants ran. So when these giants get running, I don't know. That's what I'm saying. Like AMD may hit 1,000 sooner than you think. I would not be surprised. You know Lisa Sue sandbags. If you don't follow me on X, go ahead and follow me on X. But I put a couple things out this past week just regarding AMD. First started out with, I said this, currently up 200% of my AMD shares at 23% weighting. I'll be holding through earnings, diamond hands. This was May 5th, I think a day before earnings, and they went crazy. Revenue estimate was 9.85 billion. They came in at 10.25 billion. EPS estimate 1.29, came in at 1.37. Triple beat. You know, data center revenue beat that by roughly, Gross margins beat that by 3%. Q2 guidance, they beat. Gross margins, they beat all around the quarter. Now, this wasn't a crazy beat, though. You know, now, data center revenue, that's mainly the main driver right now, up 57% year over year. That's great. 50% year over year. And they haven't even released, the MI450 series yet. I said 400 coming. We hit 400, dipped a little bit, and we shot right through that. I say right here, we haven't even released the MI455X yet. Someone asked what that was. It's a good tailwind. AMD with my biggest flex soonest, making some good gains on MU and SITM. But we haven't. This is their new GPU. They're going to be a good competitor to NVIDIA, and it hasn't even come out yet. And we're running like this. That's why I'm like, 400 may be here sooner than you think, guys. I put this on May 5th, AMD after hours. We hit roughly 400. And there's some quotes from the quarter. CEO on server CPU TAM doubling to 120 billion by 2030. The TAM doubled. The TAM doubled, bro, from 60 billion to 120 billion. So Lisa Su said, based on the demand signals we're seeing today and the structural increase in CPU compute requirements driven by agentic AI, that was a very big theme I heard in the AI conference in Washington, D.C. this past week. So that clicks. We now expect the server CPU TAM to grow at greater than 35% annually, reaching over 120 billion by 2030. It's happening at a much faster pace. We're seeing significantly more CPU demand, really from every major cloud provider, as well as enterprise customers. We now expect CPU cert revenue to grow more than 70% year over year. Damn! In the second quarter, with robust growth going through second half of 2026 into 2027. I said right here, I said, don't be surprised when AMD is trading at $1,000. It may be sooner than we think. And that was like 5 days ago. That a quote, we are very happy with our partnerships with the memory vendors, and we have secured enough supply to certainly meet and exceed our targets. You know how I just showed you all the Microns and the SanDisk? Those are memory plays. So the same memory that's put in your laptop or your phone is the same memory these GPUs need for real. So, or it could be a little different, but all in all, memory is very, very tight right now. So if you go out and try to get like a terabyte hard drive, the price might be double, or they might be sold out because memory is so in demand right now, and everything's going to AI right now. Some more quotes from Lisa Su. We have very good visibility now into the deployments that are on track for 2027. When I say good visibility, it's visibility down to which data centers are the GPUs going to be installed in. Oh, dang. When I say good visibility, it's visibility down to which data centers the GPUs are going to be installed in. Dang. Okay. We are confident in our ability to supply to the levels of growth that we're talking about and to exceed the levels of growth that we are talking about. We are also working very closely with our customers and our partners to ensure that we have good visibility to the data center power. There's much more power that is coming online in 2027. Some cool, funny memes. Oh shoot, I didn't even show y'all. These are the quotes I was just reading right here. You know, the CEO said in their earnings call right there. So take a pause, look through that real quick. I said this is how AMD and Nebius is carrying my portfolio this year, while software loads up. Like, nah, for real. This is when I realized right here, I was just like, it's clear where the money is flowing, which is AI infrastructure. I still like SoFi, but long term, but opportunity costs were screaming. I sold SoFi for break even after a year of holding and added more Nebius at 135, 145. I continue to hold hood for fintech exposure. And that's why I trimmed some of my SoFi here in the stock portfolio. I trimmed it down to roughly 3.5% weighting. When I sold, averages at 13.97, so I was buying SoFi really early. So I mean, that's still a very low average. I think I just hold a small position right now for that. And I put that in for Nebius, and it was actually a pretty smart move. So I'm already up 10% on my Nebius investment, and that has roughly 8% of portfolio. So that's pretty solid. Yeah, and it's actually dipped. I don't think it dipped this week. It hit 190s. It went down to 177. So I mean, I wouldn't mind selling the rest of SoFi. I'm not gonna lie, to put in Nebius. But I may sell I low-key might sell some more Nvidia though. Yeah. Yeah. I'm gonna sell a little Nvidia, no cap. And I'm gonna put that in Nebius. Probably be pinning it tomorrow. But yeah, let's go ahead and I want to share this video with you all just so we can hear from Lisa Su herself.
Following incredible shares of AMD are surging following incredible earnings and signs of growing confidence about the AI build-out, including the Agentics and how much CPU they need. Joining us now exclusively, AMD Chair and CEO Lisa Su. Lisa, I would be wrong and remiss not to start by saying congratulations on an amazing quarter and an even better forecast.
Thank you, Jim. It's great to be here with you guys.
Okay, so Lisa, you kind of jaws dropped when you talked about what you said November would be for CPUs versus now. I think I just need you to say it to people because I was astonished when I heard it on the call.
Well, first of all, Jim, we had a great start of the year. It's really an exciting time for AI. And I think I've been on this program a few times, Jim, and I've told you guys that we are at the very early innings of AI. And you always ask me, like, what does that mean? What does early innings mean? And I think what we can say now for sure is we are seeing that inflection point in the market where, large enterprises are really starting to benefit that AI can really bring to their businesses. And you're seeing the adoption rate really increase. And what that means is you need a lot of compute. And we're always very excited to be here to talk about our accelerator roadmap and the large market that's available there. But what we're also seeing is that you need a lot of CPU compute, which is really the place where we have such a strong portfolio. So you've heard about agents. I can say agents are really driving tremendous demand in the overall AI adoption cycle, and we're very excited to be in the middle of it.
Well, let's talk about the cycle, because one of the things that happened that you mentioned is that we had thought the CPU to GPU ratio, 1 to 4, 1 to 8, it's closer 1 to 1. Can you tell people what that means in terms of the sheer number of CPUs that we need now when we have agents and we have the data center?
Yeah, absolutely. So, Jim, think about it this way. When we're using AI, every time we use AI, we're asking it questions and it's returning answers for us. But now with the power of the new models, we can actually have these agents where each of us could have, 2 or 3 or even 5 or 10 agents. And those agents are doing work on behalf of, all of our employees and each of us. And what that means is you need more CPU compute as well, which is the general purpose processing around that. So, you mentioned we are always watching this market. We're constantly talking to our customers, constantly looking at new workloads. And as recently as last year, in November, we thought the CPU TAM was going to be, let's call it, growing at about 18 to 20%, which, by the way, was a much higher number than people previously thought. And now what we're seeing is, we think that rate is doubling, and we're seeing that the CPU market may be over $120 billion by the time we get to 2030, growing at over 35%. And it just tells you how much AI is actually doing. So from my standpoint, I think it's really a validation of everything that we believed. But what's happening is the usefulness, the utility of AI is actually increasing at even a faster pace than we originally thought 6 months ago.
Nuveen unlocks potential across public.
There you have it there, folks. Advanced Money Duplicator. I remember when it was called an Advanced Money Destroyer, but appreciate that tuning in. If you've been following me for a while, there's a big win for the portfolio. We've been bullish on AMD for well over about 2-3 years now. I've been buying AMD for a while now, I'm not going to lie. Good W for the portfolio. We just getting started, though. AMD at 1,000, I'm not going to lie. JRoss TV, we out.